Very good morning to all of you and welcome to DED program, that is Detailed Editorial Discussion. Friends, in this session I am going to discuss an important article that I have taken from the Hindu newspaper. Friends, the article appeared yesterday and the article is Antimicrobial Resistance, the Silent Threat. Friends, this subject is very important in the context of our examination for both prelims and as well as mains examination. Right friends, the article is written by Jahangir Kema. He is the industry research fellow, and Ubin Cyrus Shroff, and he is a health systems specialist whose work informs health policy making in LMICs. Those are low and middle income countries. Right friends, we will go and see the article in detail. So first, before going to understand the antimicrobial resistance, we will understand the scenario first. Right friends, since January 2020, there have been over 3 million deaths globally on account of COVID-19. Friends, this starkly exposed the vulnerabilities of health systems to infectious diseases, even in the richest countries. So this is the havoc wreaked by the COVID-19 virus. Right friends, this calls for cooperation. The summary of this slide is there has been a cooperation at the world level when it comes to COVID-19 virus and pandemic. So to fight the antimicrobial resistance, AMR, also there is a need for global cooperation and global common action. Right friends, now we will try to understand the AMR. Friends, as serious as the current health and economic crisis is, COVID-19 may just be the harbinger of future crises. Friends, the author is comparing the antimicrobial resistance threat to the COVID-19 threat, but some experts also compared the threat of AMR to that of climate change. Often we see climate change as the biggest threat that the humanity is going to face, but if not more, the AMR, antimicrobial resistance, is as big as a threat as climate change. Right friends? Antimicrobial resistance, the phenomenon by which bacteria and fungi, so they evolve and become resistant to presently available medical treatment. So the bacteria and fungi, they evolve and they become resistant to presently available medical treatment. So friends, this is one of the greatest challenges of the 21st century. So friends, this is not a simple thing. AMR is not a simple thing. It is a big challenge. Right friends, now we will try to understand the causes of AMR. Right friends, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom, he said in 2020 that AMR is a slow tsunami that threatens to undo a century of medical progress. So the WHO Director General said that it is a slow tsunami and it threatens to undo a century of medical progress. Right friends, AMR is already responsible for up to 7 lakh deaths per year. So this is a big number. Right friends, unless urgent measures are taken to address this threat, we could soon face an unprecedented health and economic crisis. Disease of 10 million annual deaths and costs up to $100 trillion by 2050. So friends, this is a big price that we are going to face if we do not fight the antimicrobial resistance. Right friends, the challenges are diverse in fighting the antimicrobial resistance. Friends, AMR represents an existential threat to modern medicine. Without functional antimicrobials to treat bacterial and fungal infections, even the most common surgical procedures, those are related to even cancer chemotherapy, will become fraught with risk from untreatable infections. So friends, if there are no antimicrobials available to treat the infections, performing surgeries and treatments like for cancer chemotherapy, these will also become difficult, right friends? Neonatal and maternal mortality will increase. Friends, all these effects will be felt globally, but the scenario in low and middle income countries, LMICs, of Asia and Africa is even more serious. So even though the bad effects of AMR will be felt by all over the world, the poorer countries of Asia and Africa, on these countries the impact will be much bigger, right friends? LMICs have significantly driven down mortality using cheap and easily available antimicrobials. As you all know, India is known as the pharmacy of the world, and India was behind providing medical security for these countries, right friends? So because of the availability of the antimicrobials, these LMICs were successful in driving down the mortality and other infectious diseases, right friends? In the absence of new therapies, health systems in these countries are at severe risk of being overrun by untreatable infectious diseases. So when the microbials are not available, antimicrobials are not available, these countries again may face the risk of infectious diseases like TB. TB is becoming drug resistant, and more and more number of people are falling prey to TB infections. So fighting these kind of diseases becomes very difficult for poorer countries, right friends? Drug resistance in microbes emerges for several reasons. Now we will try to see the reasons. Misuse of antimicrobials in medicine, this is the one reason, and inappropriate use in agriculture. And the third one is contamination around the pharmaceutical manufacturing sites, where untreated waste releases large amounts of active antimicrobials into the environment. Friends, if you go to the areas like Patancheru in Hyderabad, there are n number of multiple pharmaceutical companies have been situated. They are there, and they release these waste, which includes antimicrobials, freely into the environment. So this also results in the emergence of antimicrobial resistance, right friends? Another problem is there were no inventions in antimicrobials in the past 5 to 6 decades, right friends? This is compounded by the serious challenge that no new class of antibiotics have made into the market in the last 3 decades. Friends, this is largely on the account of inadequate incentives for their development and production. So there are no incentives for the development and the production of the antimicrobials, new antimicrobials. So because of that, there are no new inventions, right friends? A recent report from the non-profit PEW trusts found that over 95% of the antibiotics in development today are from the small companies, 75% of which have no products currently in the market. So the essence is that only smaller and new companies are focusing on research and development. They are involving in production of new antimicrobials, right friends? Major pharmaceutical companies have largely abandoned innovation in this space, right friends? We have to focus on diverse areas, right friends? Tackling these diverse challenges requires action in a range of areas that should result in reducing antibiotic use, right friends? A mix of incentives and sanctions would encourage appropriate clinical use. Okay friends, it is critical to ensure that all those who need an antimicrobial have access to it. So this is also important. Everybody, each one who requires the antimicrobials, they should be in a position to access it. Friends, 5.7 million people, that is 57 lakh people worldwide, die annually because they cannot access drugs for infections that are treatable. So people are also losing lives because they are unable to access the antimicrobial drugs. Even they are in existence, but the patients are not able to access them. Okay friends, further, to track the spread of resistance in microbes, surveillance measures to identify these organisms need to expand beyond hospitals and encompass livestock, wastewater and farm runoffs. So if we want to fight the AMR, drug resistance and antimicrobial resistance, we should not only focusing on hospitals, but also we should be focusing on livestock, that is importantly poultry farms, and even we should focus on wastewater that is coming from the pharmaceutical companies, and also we should focus on the agricultural runoffs. Right friends, since microbes will inevitably continue to evolve and become resistant even to new antimicrobials, we need sustained investments and global coordination to detect and combat new resistant strains on an ongoing basis. So friends, the microbes gaining resistance to antimicrobials is a continuing phenomena. So we also should continuously monitoring the situation, and we should be continuously focusing on preventing the emergence of antimicrobial resistance. Right friends, the way forward is there is room however for cautious optimism. Right friends, a multi-sectoral $1 billion AMR action fund was launched in 2020 to support the development of new antibiotics. So for the development of new antibiotics, a $1 billion AMR action fund was created. Friends, the United Kingdom is trailing a subscription-based model for paying for new antimicrobials towards ensuring their commercial viability. So this is the good step taken by the United Kingdom. Right friends, other initiatives focused on appropriate use of antibiotics include, so there are some individual examples. One is Peru's efforts on patient education to reduce unnecessary antibiotic prescriptions, and Australian regulatory reforms to influence prescriber behavior, so that the prescriber prescribes only relevant antimicrobials, and he or she do not prescribe unnecessary drugs. Right friends, initiatives to increase the use of point of care diagnostics, such as the EU sponsored Value DX program. So friends, these are some of the measures taken by individual countries. Right friends, finally, given the critical role of manufacturing and environmental contamination in spreading AMR through pharmaceutical waste, there is a need to look into laws such as those recently proposed by India. It is one of the largest manufacturers of pharmaceuticals to curb the amount of active antibiotics released in pharmaceutical waste. Right friends, while the range of initiatives taken to seek to control the emergence and the spread of AMR is welcome, there is a need to recognize the limitations of a siloed approach. So friends, there is a need to break the siloed approach and to come up with a comprehensive approach. Right friends, current initiatives largely target individual issues related to AMR, and those individual issues are absence of new antibiotics, inappropriate prescription, and environmental contamination. So friends, because consequently narrowly defined groups of stakeholders So the stakeholders targeted are also becomes narrower. Friends, regulating clinician prescription of antimicrobials alone would do little in settings where patient demand is high and antimicrobials are freely available over the counter in practice, as in case in many LMICs. Right, friends? Efforts to control prescription through provider incentives should be accompanied by efforts to educate consumers to reduce inappropriate demand. This is one thing. Issue standard treatment guidelines that would empower providers to stand up to such demands. And the third one is, as well as provide point of care diagnostics to aid clinical decision making. Friends, these are some of the other measures. Right, friends? There is also a need for change in the policy, and those are policy alignment is also needed much beyond the health system. So we need to focus on other things other than the health system. Right, friends? Solutions in clinical medicine must be integrated with improved surveillance of AMR in agriculture, animal health and environment. Friends, this means that AMR must no longer be the remit solely on the health sector. Friends, finally, successful policies in individual countries are no guarantee of global success. So international alignment and coordination are paramount in both policy making and as well as its implementation. Friends, so international cooperation is imminent. Success stories in individual countries are not going to serve the purpose. So some experts are suggesting that the Paris Climate Agreement should be taken as a blueprint to have an agreement to combat the antimicrobial resistance also. So for climate change, there is a Paris Climate Agreement, and for AMR, antimicrobial resistance also, there should be a agreement at the global level. Right, friends, to conclude, with viral diseases such as COVID-19, outbreaks and pandemics may harder to predict. However, given what we know about the silent pandemic, that is AMR, there is no excuse for delaying action. So there should be immediate action, and we should address the problem of antimicrobial resistance. Otherwise, we are going to pay huge costs. Right, friends? This is all from this article. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.